Welcome back, Sean here. Rimshots with Sean, brought to you by Barstools and Bandtalk. My buddy Clint, segment 2. I have to get one thing out of the way. Uh, your friend and mine, Chris Potty, said to mention that you play with a handsome drummer every now and again, and I was like, who would that be? It's not me. I've never played with Clint. He was alluding to himself, right? Anybody knows Potty?
Exactly.
Um, he's kind of had a little bit of I guess, a pivot, but you're still playing with him in Silverado and Randy Chase
Yep.
on it's going in.
Mhm.
You guys going to be busy with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's we're all at honestly, I think we're all at an age where we're doing it for fun.
Yep.
And so like I have a family, I got kids, and I know Potty does too, and Randy does. And I mean, it's almost like we play when we want to play.
Yep.
And if it's not convenient, we don't. But so we're not doing the every weekend warrior thing. I think those days for me are a little gone. But so now it's just with that band specifically, we've been playing out about once a month or so.
Or not? And I mean, and Peter James, and I played with Peter, and Peter's an absolute monster. It's funny with Peter. People don't realize it. I mean, Peter's like he's an amazing fisherman.
Yeah.
And he makes those lures and stuff, and I totally forgot that, but I didn't know what to expect. I mean, I knew JD, but I mean, I didn't know what to expect when I went out and saw that band. And I mean, I thought it was great. And then when Randy got in there, I think it was the first time in 4 years that he had played. When I saw you guys at Monty's and did a fantastic job. You guys look like you're having a good time, man.
We do. It's like I said, we've all done this long enough that unless it's fun, it's almost not worth doing the gigs anymore.
Amen, brother. How much do you practice as a guitar player? Because I always like to ask this question because myself, I try to get in at least an hour and a bit a day.
Mhm.
Some of it's out of necessity just because, the body kind of does certain things when you get older. But how often do you practice and how much do you practice?
Well, how much should I practice versus?
Well, yeah, there's no right answer for that.
To be honest, just having the family, 2 kids, full-time job. I hate to say it, but sometimes, like through COVID, you'd think that I would have played a ton.
Yeah.
I actually would go months and not even pick it up. So probably on average, maybe once a week, and it's usually only 30 minutes or an hour. I should be practicing way more, but to be honest, I just at a point in my life where I was fortunate enough to do what I did professionally.
Yep.
And I'm okay with not being at the top of my game anymore. Because if anything, I just want to pass it on to the kids and almost enjoy playing with them more. But it takes a lot more work now. If I do play out like with Silverado, whatever, it's like I have to cram hard the week before to get my chops back up.
That's a mature statement, though, and it comes obviously with experience that you're not worried or you're not necessarily concerned about being at the top of your game anymore. Because I think there's a competition factor in music that sometimes I think gets in the way of fun, but gets in the way of people succeeding because they want to be the best, and in their quest to be the best, they forget some things that could really help them become more well-rounded as a player.
Yeah, absolutely. I've learned. I try to play fewer notes, and my goal is almost to do the gig without mistakes, but those days are almost gone now. But I realized like years ago when I was younger, I was trying to. It's almost like I was getting paid by the note. Try to.
I don't know. The night I saw you, it was like I made a comment. I was sitting with somebody and I said, "My God, man, he's going to run into guitar neck there at some point." It was just crazy. But I guess, well, it's funny. I interviewed Billy Sheehan. He's in Nashville now. And he made the comment that when he got down there, they basically told him that, you don't make any money past the 5th fret, so knock it off. And I just thought that was really funny, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Last question on this. So, when you say, you don't the quest for the best and stuff, and you're in a spot now where you're doing it for fun. When you finally made the decision to kind of get off the road and start a family and all that stuff, was there a period of, I've done it, and because you see the athlete that, like Tom Brady is a good example, retires and he goes for a victory lap, which didn't go that well, right? Did you have a period where you went, "Oh man, you know what? I'm going to regret this," or was it just nope? I'm done and had a good run, and I'm going to do something else.
Well, and it sounds strange, but I knew as soon as I started touring uh, at the age of, I think, 31, that my plan was to only tour like for so long. And there's guys out there that can make a very successful career, but when you really think about it, I unfortunately knew a lot of players, lifetime players, and that I would see get to 60s and the gigs really dwindle. It's just part of the thing, and they were just broke or not doing too well, right? So I knew if I did it, I would do it for a while and then back out and then do something else, because I didn't really want to get myself in a position where I'd get older and then have no retirement, no money, no nothing. So it's kind of the harsh reality of it.
Uh,
Everybody thinks that, sorry, it's like everybody thinks, would say when I came up here from Nashville, they're like, oh, you must have been raking in the money. And I mean, you're a hired gun.
yeah,
It pays great for the time that you play,
yeah.
but it's not comparable to a regular job. So
And what people don't understand is, um, it's not as glamorous. Like, so for example, my friend that I play with every now and again, Lee Fleming Smith, so he's out with the
yes,
Crash Test Dummies.
yeah,
And so he texted me yesterday and they did Minneapolis Friday night,
mm,
and then they did in somewhere in Indiana. And I'm like, so I asked him, what'd you think of Minneapolis? He goes, I went from the hotel room to the venue, back to the hotel room, and
okay,
we left. And people
yeah,
don't realize, man, that
right,
that's a lot. It's very sterile. It's very it's not this big glamorous, thing that
mm,
people, you know, you're almost like a traveling salesman in a way,
yep,
right?
100%, 100%. It's just like the almost like the whether it's the Motley Crue documentary, the
Yeah.
movie that came out. I mean, it's all true. All the stories are true. You get off, you wake up when the bus stops, you get off and you look around and you're at the venue. Typically, your day's fairly full with sound check and some other things. You can't really necessarily leave, so you don't really go to see the town too much. Even if you're in the city, and do the gig, and then the bus leaves 1, 2, 3 in the morning and move on to the next one. So is as much traveling as I did all those years, I really didn't get to see a ton of the country that you expect, because you're always driving at night, right? So even if I'd set up at the front of the bus, it's just pitch black. So
Well, that's the thing, and I had a friend of mine who he was a tech guy, and he used to be out with Weird Al Yankovic. And somebody asked him, what did you think of? I can't remember what city it was, but he goes, it was the nicest city I never got to see, and was like, but you were there. Well, no, I was at the venue, and then I was in the bus, and we were gone. And again, people just don't understand. I mean, it's a job at the end of the day. I
yep,
mean, it looks fun, and I think that
yep,
that's why people sometimes don't, as musicians, give us enough recognition because it's fun. It's
right.
hard work, man.
It is. It is.
Hard work.
Yeah.
Um, so and you said you have a day. What do you do for a day job?
So I work in the exciting world of insurance.
Oh, nice.
It's 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 basically I don't sell. I deal with claims, but to be honest, when I moved up here, and I knew this, when you have a resume that says full-time musician for 6 years, like it's hard to find a job because nobody takes you seriously because of the stigma, right? If you're a musician full time, you're late, you're lazy, or you never wanted to have a real job. So it was tough. It was
Are you
basically the
telling me
only.
that they didn't say, "Would you like to do this job free for exposure"?
Oh man, yeah,
Right,
exactly.
right.
That's us.
Well, so question that I have, it's come up quite a bit in the last little while in your industry. I think might be, or well, when you were in that full time, is the use of backing tracks, and you keep seeing, you know, the pros and cons. I have my opinion on it, and I think that it's a skill set, especially as a drummer, where we were rehearsing today, and I
Mhm.
couldn't hear the click track that good, and I had to mix some things around. It's a skill set, and I think it serves a purpose. What are your thoughts on the use of backing tracks live?
Well, we actually never did with Billy Currington. the only time we ever used anything, it was like a light drum loop, like at the beginning of a song, and then it was out. Um, and that was even whenever I first started, and it was a 4-piece band. So 4-piece band and him singing, I was covering steel guitar, fiddle parts, dobro, anything, basically anything other than keyboards. So we did have a keyboard player.
Yeah.
I was covering all of that. The backing tracks, in my opinion, if it's adding a signature part that is truly needed because it's the signature and you have nobody in the band that can copy it, I think that's a good reason to have them. And if it's just color, which I mean, it's not, the full harmonies like the singers or full, the guitarist is playing, but then you hear guitars in the track, the only thing I don't like about them is it locks you into that start to finish, right? So when you don't play with it, if you want to stretch out a solo or do something spontaneous, you can, but the tracks kind of lock you in a lot of the times.
Yeah.
But anymore, it's like the audience expects more perfection and more of the bigger sound. So sometimes, if you're a small band or don't have the pieces to cover it, you got to have them.
Up here in the 90s, it was the record companies up here, in particular the Canadian record companies, more or less when they signed a band, is you will use backing tracks. And I opened for a band who I was at the front and I heard the backing track. It sounded amazing. I went back and I heard them singing through the monitors and they sounded just as good. But nope, the record company's like, nope, we want it like that. So to your point, we played with them a number of nights and everything was the same every night.
Right. Now, but I do love, and people will argue with this to me all the time, and that's okay. Like, we always played to a click. The drummer had the click, and any of us that wanted the click in our ears, we could have it. But boy, it's like I go back and listen to some of our performances, like board tapes and stuff, and it's like everybody's just locked in. I mean, just locked in. That aspect of it is good for tracks, and that's everybody's not speeding up or slowing down or anything throughout the song. But I really do think, like, for tracks, to each his own.
I prefer using a click live. I've grown accustomed to it. I was on a recording session a week or so ago, and the guy I was working with, he's like, "Do this," and I could, I guess, physically do the part he was explaining, but I was kind of fumbling a little bit. And as soon as he turned the click on, I got right into it. And I think obviously I practice with it all the time, but it's a skill set that once you get it, you never want to be without it. Right.
Yep.
So I guess last question, you're a busy guy. You got to work tomorrow, man. I'm sure claims up in your business, or where are we at in terms
of... there's always automobile accidents and slip and falls. All the time. Yeah. It's just pretty steady.
Right on. And obviously I get the plug in for Renegade Records. Clint, get over there when you're in Dartmouth, man. It's on Portland Street. Have you seen it?
I've heard of them.
Yeah.
I haven't been over there yet.
And it's a fantastic shop. I was there yesterday. He's got some great stuff. I want to ask you, as a guitar player, and I mean, go see this fellow when he's playing with Silverado or whoever he's playing with, because, I'll play with a lot of guitar players, and, I don't profess to be, I guess, an authoritative figure, but I mean, there's something about when I hear somebody that plays that catches my ear, and you do every time you play.
Thank you.
It's your feel. It's, you'll play something slow and it's awesome. You play something fast and I want to go and freaking punch you in the mouth because it's freaking sick as crap, right? And that's, I guess what I'm saying is, without me being the guy, when you catch somebody like that, for me, who has focus issues like that, I think you're doing it the right way.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
And again, it's not that I'm the Mr. Big Shot. It's just I sometimes can't focus on things, and when something catches my ear and I pay attention. So, who are your top 5 guitar players, man, for you?
Ooh, top 5. First, I would say is Robin Ford, which I don't know if you're familiar with him, but
Yep.
The best mix of blues and jazz, in my opinion. I've always loved his playing. Larry Carlton, which is similar, but good session guy from over many decades. I would say Doyle Bramwell II. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yep.
He's probably my favorite all-around singer, songwriter, and guitarist and vocalist. There's 3. Man, I was just thinking about this earlier. Mick Sweeta from Bullet Boys, the original guitar player. Like
yes,
that
man.
he was the first, in my opinion, in the hair metal days, for the best blues-based player that just played with a lot of emotion and looseness that a lot of the technical guys didn't back then. I loved his playing. Oh my gosh, loved it.
That's a deep cut too, man. I like that because those first 2 albums for me were just lights out.
It's I still today just play those albums all the time. And then probably in the country world, there's a new guy. I hope I get his name right. I think it's Greg Coach or Koch. I don't know how you pronounce his last name, but he's probably about my age, but man, he's just blistering. And he's one of these 2 that he's technically phenomenal, but he plays with a lot of feel and looseness that, say, Brent Mason or somebody is very technical. He just blows my mind. On the countryside.
Those are solid picks, man. And it's funny because when you mention Mick Sweeta, he's always been a guy to me that just always seemed to fly below the radar.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
Yeah.
I would like to show you just a couple of quick things of some favorites that I found. Styx PCV.
Man.
The Grand Illusion.
Oh yeah.
I'm starting to mac out on vinyl again. This one here, man.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Ronnie James Dio. Come on.
Yep.
Anyway, I could go on and on and on, but I do want to say one thing. And it's this. Well, actually, it's I'll call it a last question. So if there's you gave a bit of the message at the beginning of, you had a goal in mind and you were going to tour for so much, and what would you say to the guy that's maybe has been trying to get to the level that you're at, hasn't been working out for him, maybe he's frustrated, maybe he's discouraged? What would you say to that guy, just as a guy who's done it and a guy that's really kind of doing what he wants to do now with music?
Yeah. Well, I mean, kind of the cliche thing is, don't ever give up. This is just being the honest thing. It's like, as I talked about earlier, there's guys that are just phenomenal players, super nice guys, and I've even seen in their sort of career, like they never really got that big artist gig. They got some work, but never the big artist gig.
Right.
And it's like the stuff that's out of your hands is the timing, right? It's like, even if you network and know people, it's so hard to just get the call, be at the right place at the right time. And I mean, there's there anything specific to say other than just keep working your ass off? Because
I think you just nailed it, though. You saying the thing that you can't control is the timing. I've asked that question to many people, and I've never had somebody. And the second you said it, I was like, yeah. How many times have you been, 10 minutes before the right person was there, 15 minutes after, or, and that's the stuff you can't control. And it can drive you bananas trying to control it, right? So I think you just nailed it right there, my friend. That's a piece of advice that we haven't heard before. Look, I want to appreciate, or I want to say thank you. I appreciate you doing this. And I mean, should have been sooner, but Potty, for God's sake, right? So, and God love him. I got to be nice to him because he's doing some recording with me. So, and he's a good fella. But thanks a lot, man. And
Yes,
where can people find you in the next little bit?
You know what? I should know this, but I actually don't have a whole lot of gigs coming up. I'm playing with the Mellotons a bunch in the next month or two on Fridays at the Pacifico. Just their weekly gig. But other than that, I don't think I have a whole lot else going on.
Well, enjoy your time because, and I look forward to it. When I say this to everybody, and I had an opportunity to get out last night, but when you're playing somewhere soon, shoot me a text because I'd love to check it out.
Yes, we'll do.
All right, my man. That's
All
my
right.
buddy Clint. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.